This is an express train, and the next stop is TMG.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to TMG. I'm your host, Travis Patton Sr. I enjoy discovering and sharing real-life moments of inspiration from everyday people. And this show is about finding moments of inspiration for our everyday lives. And look, and if you're going to tell me something, then tell me something good. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of TMG. That's Tell Me Something Good. I'm your host, Travis Patton Sr. Guys, I'm super excited to be here tonight. As always, I kind of bring a little energy with me every time I go. You're always, hey, Travis, you're always excited. Yeah, I am, because I'm always looking for something good to talk about. Guys, before we get started, as always, gotta give a shout out to my bestest fan all in the world, my lovely wife, Nicole. Nicole, I know you're watching. I know you're listening, girl. That's your shout out. And in a very, very short time, this show has taken off. I just celebrated a year anniversary in May, and it's been heard all around the globe. Guys, places like the Philippines and Vietnam. I'm just so excited that, well, tonight, guys, I have a very special guest who's going to join us. And we're going to talk about some things that I know is going to help. Guys, has anyone, I got to put this question out there, has anyone ever felt stuck before? Now listen, I mean really, really stuck. Like you just couldn't move forward. Like no matter what you tried, you couldn't go further than where you are. Maybe there's some reasons behind that. So tonight, guys, we have a very special guest today on TMG, Dr. Michelle Maidenberg. She's going to come on and she's going to join us, guys, and she's going to share some tips. So let me stop running my mouth and bring Dr. Maidenberg on. Dr. Maidenberg, you're here. How you doing?
Hello. I love you have so much energy. It's like contagious.
Thank you so much. My wife says I wake up on 10. She said, can you at least wake up on 3 sometimes? I said, I'll try.
I need whatever you have. I need that. You need to bottle it. Seriously, you need to bottle it.
I'll sell it.
Exactly. We all need it, especially now, right? When things are
my gosh, yes. We do. Dr. Maidenberg, so yeah. I know you. We've talked. I got guests who's watching, those who's streaming it, and there will be some streaming in later because I know they will. Let the audience know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm a therapist. I do different types of therapies. I do something called ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which is, a very well-known type of treatment. And then something called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And I also do a lot of mindfulness. I teach a mindfulness graduate course at NYU. So my practice is really filled with, mindful, like Buddhist precepts. I use a lot of mindfulness in my practice, a lot of it. I also have a foundation, which is called Through My Eyes, and it offers free clinically guided videotaping for chronically medically ill individuals who want to leave a video legacy for their children and loved ones.
Oh, wow. That sounds nice.
Yes. Yeah. Really, really therapeutic for people are unfortunately ill and at our, end of life. So that's a big part of my work. And I do a lot of different types of things. I do a lot of writing. So I'm a blogger for Psychology Today, which I love doing. And then I have a book coming out in September, which is called Ace Your Life, Unleash Your Best Self and Live the Life You Want. And it's predicated on acceptance, compassion, and empowerment.
Wow. Those are some things that everybody needs right now, acceptance, compassion, and empowering a lot.
Yeah.
There's so many obstacles, and I don't really call them obstacles. I call them life distractions. There's
Mhm.
so many distractions to what we're trying to achieve with ourselves. Whether you have these lofty goals of making your career better or have a better career, or if you're just saying, you know what, I just want to be a better version of who I am.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just want to make better decisions, and being able to unleash who we are plays a huge part in that. And that plays a huge part in what we're talking about tonight. Feeling stuck.
Yeah.
I'm stuck.
So I want to say something about I use the word unleash purposefully
Hmm.
because it is already in us. We all have it in us. And the word unleash is we just have to really, right? We because it's in us. Sometimes it gets overshadowed,
Oh,
for
wow.
reasons, right? So sometimes it could be because of our childhood.
Right.
It could be because of circumstances we're in. It could be what's going on in society. Like right now, I don't know a person who's not stuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
in so many different ways. Like we're all stuck, whether like, and every day, like literally, my friend texted me yesterday and she's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, there was another shooting. I was like, what? Like, I couldn't even believe that there could be another shooting. I was like,
Another one.
yeah. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I thought she was kidding. I really did. It's so draining. It's so draining on our systems that what ends up happening is we really get activated in the stress response.
Mhm.
And guess what? That's when we go into flight, fright, or freeze. But you know what's happening? We're all shutting down.
Oh, wow.
We're all shutting down. It's like we just can't take another like tragedy.
Oh,
It
wow.
literally shuts us down. So we freeze, we just shut down. And I know for myself, when I feel overwhelmed, because it's a
Mhm.
feeling of being overwhelmed, like I just want to lay on the couch and like not move. Like that's how I feel. I don't know how you feel when you feel overwhelmed, but
I,
it's like,
I'm with you.
yeah.
Whenever I feel like I am overwhelmed, I say, you know what, I just can't take another bad story. I can't take just another tragedy,
Mhm,
and it's not like you hearing, okay, somebody lost their shoe. These are tragedies that we're hearing that are impacting people. We'll never meet, we'll never see them other than when they interview them on the news,
mhm.
and they're being impacted, and it causes us, like you said, we just shut down. Like, what do I do next? Like, oh my God, what's the next thing I'm going to hear? And then what it does, I notice when I hear a lot of negativity or a lot of tragic news, it makes
Mhm,
me begin to look at myself, and I start going, where am I in this? Am I in a situation where I can be caught in something like that? Where am I stuck in something like that emotionally or mentally? You
mhm,
know, how do I think about myself in this? What are my values in this situation that makes me
mhm.
feel stuck like this?
Right.
And those are some very important questions we can ask ourselves.
Yes. And one thing also, just like to piggyback what you said, which is so important, usually in certain circumstances we could remove ourselves from it and we don't relate to it. We're like, oh, it's happening in that neighborhood with that person and that
Exactly.
person. This affects everybody.
Everybody.
Like if you have a child, you're thinking about it. if you go
Correct.
if you
Correct.
if you go to the grocery store, you're thinking about it. Like who doesn't do those things, right? So we can't distance ourselves as much as we're used to doing. So it forces us to really say to ourselves, how are we living our life? So like if we were in that supermarket, or if
Hmm.
our kids, how do we, like, do we want to leave a legacy? Like how do we want to be remembered? And it causes us to really think about our day to day. Like, and it forces us to be in the present moment because we never know. Like I always tell my clients all the time, we don't know what's going to happen in an hour from now.
Exactly.
I don't know what's gonna happen in 5 hours. I don't even know what's gonna happen in 2 minutes. I just know what's happening right here, right now. That's it. That's the only thing that's available to me, and every moment counts. And even, like, as I'm walking in the building, right, this morning, I was walking in the building, and there was a person who was, like, lagging behind, and you could tell they were having, like, problems with their leg, and I had
Hmm.
that split-second decision, I was really in a mad rush to come to my office. Do I wanna hold the door open for them?
Mm, mm.
And again, that seems like, again, it seems so inconsequential. What's the big deal? Open the door, not open the door. And of course, like one thought came in of like, oh, but there's somebody behind me, they could do it. Right.
Oh.
Or what's the difference? Like, I'm in a rush. They don't look like they're in so much of a rush. Like, I don't need to be doing this. And then I said, no, because how am I going to walk away from this? What's going to be sitting with me? If I walk away and I don't do it, I'll be sitting with, should I have done it? Did somebody else do it? What is that? What does that say about me that I didn't do it? But if I do it, I walk away with saying like, that was my best self. Like I was being generous to somebody. And then that really contributes to my self-confidence and the way I see myself as a kind, caring person who I am.
Wow. Let me ask something. Let me add this. When we take the time, for instance, life is, to me, life is one big moment, because one moment you're here, the next moment you cannot be. Life is one big, so we're all living one moment here. When you made that decision, you realized you were being your best selves. And a lot of times when we talk about wanting to be our best selves and not getting stuck in things, a lot of times we look for the glamour, the stage, the big hurrah where everyone can see it. And a lot of times it's the small things that we contribute to that can really help us become our best selves. It's those small things that we do consistently that over time that makes us better. I look at things like the Grand Canyon. It took water over time to make that a consistent flow. So if we have a consistent flow over time of small things, it can have great effects in our lives.
Right. And while we're talking about nature, here's a good metaphor. If you're climbing up a mountain, okay, and you get tired, what do? So do you like start going down the mountain? No. You sit down, you take a rest, you drink a little bit of water, and you keep going to the summit. Like it's okay to stop, and it's okay to recalibrate, and it's okay to reconnect, and it's okay, right? But like you don't go backwards, you go forwards.
Exactly.
Exactly. And all of those little things that I just talked about, like leaving the door open and whatever the case is, whatever you practice grows stronger.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
That is such a rule that I live by and I really talk about. So every single time I open the door, and that's again a metaphor for just being kind, right? Like that contributes to me feeling and experiencing my kindness, right? And if I don't open the door, that contributes to me feeling and thinking that I'm not kind or that I lack kindness. So I want to contribute to the bucket that really, that bucket, the kindness bucket, not the one that leads me to believe. Yeah, totally.
Not the one that says, you know what, every morning where you have to fight through and say, you're not this, you haven't, you didn't meet this goal yesterday, so you're not good, or the things that tell you you're not committed to certain things when you really are. And so that being said,
but Travis, that's what we're always told. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, you got me. Absolutely.
You were going to say that, right? Yep. We are told every single day of our lives, and this cuts across, I don't care what race, religion, whatever, gender, okay, identity, we are told we're not good enough. We have to always prove ourselves. That's culturally in society, we're nothing unless we prove ourselves.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That is absolutely, and here's Doc, when I hear that, here's what I think about. At the time of conception, this idea hit me today. So at the time of conception, there's probably about 250 million sperm cells trying to fertilize one egg. One egg. And we made it. You already proved yourself. You beat out 250 million people.
I love that. I love that.
I mean, you beat out an entire country already. So anybody else doesn't really matter. Your value didn't start when someone patted you on the back and when they gave you a raise or a title. Your value began before you had arms and legs, before you could move, before you could talk. You beat out 250 million people. You made it here off one egg.
Okay, but here's the problem. It's called this.
There it
That's
is.
the problem.
There
Because
it is.
we have a negativity bias automatically.
Correct.
So we can't help it. We can't help it. Cognitively, our neurocognition, our brains are always working against us.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always leading us to believe we're not good enough, and we're not kind enough, and we're not this enough, and we're not this enough, and that we always have to be proving ourselves.
Always.
You know? So I always say, like, there's actually a sign on my door. It says, "Don't believe everything you think." Yeah. And I could prove it to you, because people will convince me, right? And I have to tell you, I got slack from this on social media, because I say you cannot control your thoughts and feelings, only the actions that you take. And people will argue with me, because if you look on social media, there's like 10 ways, right? Like I could, you know, like practice gratitude and be happy. And if you're sad, become happy, and all of this happiness, right? This like happiness trap. It's bullshit.
Exactly.
Bullshit. Because we cannot become happy. And if we're not happy, the idea behind that, what it's insinuating, is that there's something wrong with us. And guess what? Like sadness, disappointment, frustration, all of those negative emotions lead us to our core values and what's important to us. We need to know that. We need to be reminded of that.
Exactly.
Every single day, every moment of every day. Like if I was okay about like letting that person through the door, and I wasn't like disappointed by having that thought, because I had a little bit of disappointment, like, gosh, I can't believe you even had that thought to like slam the door behind that person.
There you go. Absolutely.
What is wrong with you that you even had that thought? But then I say to myself, I am so proud of you, because the reason why you're stopping is because you care about people.
Because you care. Because you care.
Because it wouldn't be okay for me to just walk in the door, because that would haunt me. I would be sitting and thinking about that. And good for me for being like, for thinking or like experiencing that as being unkind.
Right.
Would I want to be any other way? Would I want to be okay with a thought like that? No. So I need the frustration. I need the disappointment, because that shows me of the values that are intrinsically important to me.
Absolutely. And what it does, it balances us out. It balances us out. You know, guys, you made a statement that you and I had talked about. People talk about, you know, I want to be happy, you know, and happiness is, you know, it's a state that you can be in for a moment. You know, if I'm hungry and I eat, I'm happy. Well, so does that mean after that I'm not happy? I mean, it's something that you'll constantly chase like a hamster on a wheel, but you'll never get, because it means different things to different people.
That's right.
To someone who is in a village where there's not water being pumped into it and they get a well, well, they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
You may say, well, that doesn't make me happy. You know, it's different things to different people. So even the Constitution says the pursuit of happiness, not the obtaining.
That's
the
right.
Pursuit, which
That's
means
right.
you will always be chasing it.
Yeah.
If we don't find a way to have a value about ourselves that makes us happy, we will never achieve that happiness we're trying to chase.
Okay, but Travis, here again, I'm going to say this again. It's impossible because of our brain.
Exactly.
It's impossible because of our mind. Now, here's this, okay? Think about this. If I ask you right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about the most traumatic memory you could think of. Something that happened in your life that is really painful, okay? And try to tap into the painful feelings you felt during that moment in time. You could probably pick up, right? And sometimes when I say that, people will actually tear because they'll connect to it so much, right? Now, think about the most joyful, happy moment of your life and try to tap into those emotions. You can't. You can't. You know why? Because guess what memories we hold on to?
Or stick in your head.
So that's one, okay? The second thing, you go to a party, right?
Mm-hmm.
and you want to meet people, right? You're excited. You're like,
Absolutely.
going in there to socialize, right? One person comes over to you, starts talking to you, and you're like, cool, I'm cool, right? Like everybody likes me, I'm the best. Then another person comes over. Then you approach somebody and they kind of like snub you off. Guess what happens? You don't care that you had 3 conversations. All that's going through your mind
Was that one person.
That one person, how unlikable you are, like how you're always in a spot where you can't find the love of your life or whatever the case is.
Yep.
And you'll go home from that interaction, from those interactions, remembering the one who didn't talk
That
to
one
you,
person.
and the 3 people who did talk to you.
Wow. And we wonder sometimes, and we ask ourselves, we sit and wrestle with our thoughts, and we will have 30 people that will give us praise or a hand clap or stand, and that one person that sat down, we will only focus on that one person. And I read exactly what you said. I read that the human brain is designed to think or wired to think to that negative part first.
Yes.
And there's lots of reasons behind it. One of it could be because the humans to survive, to be more cautious when you're about your environment, where you go to protect yourself. But it sticks with us.
So it's always to avoid danger and threats.
Exactly.
And to avoid discomfort.
Correct.
Those are the 2 things that our brain constantly does. It doesn't serve us well, though. It really doesn't. No, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, and it doesn't paint a pretty picture of us.
No.
It always paints the most negative picture. That's why it's important that we have to really intentionally think differently.
Yes.
Because by nature we're not going to.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, what you've done. By nature, you are not going to think of yourself in the best light. You're not going to see yourself with a high value by nature. We have to do some things intentionally to do this.
Yes. And that's why, like, for example, we all compare ourselves to other people.
Why?
But again, that's an innate thing, because that's just what our brain does, right? Because we have to do that in order to confirm that we're okay.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
Why do we need to do that? Why can't we just be okay because we're okay?
Because we're okay.
Why do I need to compare myself to somebody else, right, to confirm that I'm okay? I don't need to do that. But when I realize that I'm doing it, right, I could really be mindful, and I could say, there goes my mind doing what my mind does. Like,
correct.
And I literally say, like, it's like a little puppy. Come back here to mama, right? Like, let's sit down and, like, yeah, let's focus on me. I know you're so preoccupied with the rest of the world, but, like, let's come back,
Exactly. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So with this being said, and know that, how important, or better, let me just ask this question. Value systems play a huge part in the way we think about ourselves and in decisions that we make, whether we like to believe that or not. How we see ourselves, the way we think about ourselves, our values of ourselves, those value-based decisions play a huge part in what we do. How real important is that? Do we need to establish a value system with ourselves?
So that's a great question, and my whole book is about this. So a lot of the work that I do, and I really, it's interesting. People think they know what their values are. Like, when I ask people, what are your values? People get confused between the words goals and values. Yeah. And I have to tell you that a whole chapter in my book is about this. So I can't even speak about it as much as I want to, because we'll be spending a whole day on it. But one thing I can say, if you really want to tap into your values, the way to think about it, number one, it's unconditional. Okay. So, like, for example, okay, my parenting values, right? I have 4 kids, okay, who I adore, and they're my greatest accomplishment, honestly, right?
Absolutely.
Now, if parenting is a higher order value of mine, which it is, okay, the way that it's unconditional is, I aspire and I lean into my parenting values no matter what. So for example, okay, I have a 13-year-old daughter. She could be a little sassy sometimes, to say the least. And sometimes, you know how that is, right? Teenagers.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. So let's say she's really, really being sassy and, you know, even disrespectful and like kind of, right, I'm on the edge and I'm like feeling, right? And then let's say I'm walking with her and she trips. Am I going to say, oh, she's kind of being a jerk, I don't want to deal with her, and let her like keep her on, like, you know, not pick her up from the floor?
Yeah,
Of course not, right?
of
So
course.
it's not based on any contingency. My parenting values are there, right? No matter what.
Correct.
That is part of our values. Now there's values that we acquire, there's values that we aspire, there's values that are circumstantial. That's another way of looking at it. Yeah. So there's some values that are core to us, but they're ones that we've acquired based on society, based on our families of origin. They may be important to us, but you know, not ones that we like, you know, really, really kind of connect to on a maybe on a deep level.
Correct.
There's ones that we aspire, so we may have some of, but we really want more of, right? We maybe want to be, maybe want our creativity or whatever it is, you know? And there are some that are circumstantial. So like, for example, let's say somebody's going through a health condition and they're seeing a lot of doctors and going through a lot of treatments. Health may not be a formative value, but because of the circumstance, it tends to be in that, you know, in that situation. Okay. Now,
Absolutely.
yeah. So when we identify, like I said, that it's unconditional, we're also able, what I have people do is I have people define what the value is and what specific action they're going to take in order to lean into that specific value.
I
So
love that.
if I'm saying that parenting is a fundamental value of mine, I need to take action on that every single day of my life. Okay. Now, what does that mean? I get to define what that means. For somebody else, it's going to mean something different. For me, it's going to be something different.
Absolutely.
So here's the beauty of this. Here's the beauty. I do an evaluation every single night before I go to sleep. And I think to myself, I go through my values and I ask myself, did I lean into my values? Did I lean outside of them?
Wow.
Instead of beating myself up and being self-deprecating and saying, what's wrong with me? I'm such a bad parent, right? Like, and that's what we do. We're all or nothing, right?
Oh, of course. Either way, there's no middle ground.
I say to myself is I didn't quite lean into my parenting value today as much as I wanted to. So tomorrow I'm going to refocus and recalibrate, and I'm going to put more attention into my parenting value tomorrow.
I like that.
Do you hear how empowering that is?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Instead of beating myself up for not being the parent I wanted to be, I could say to myself, this is fundamentally who I am. And I'm so proud of that that's so important to me that I've noticed that I haven't leaned into it. And tomorrow I'm going to do a better job.
Absolutely. What that does, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about reprogramming our minds. You know, it's kind of like a computer. You know, it already has a default setting. Our default setting is not to think positive about ourselves, and these are some things and some tips, guys, that we can use to help reprogram it. And I know there are people that are listening, that will be listening, whether you're driving in your car when you hear this, and you have a bad, let's say this, you have a bad day. You have a bad day at work, bad day at home. And instead of internalizing that and taking that and saying, you're the worst employee, they're going to fire you tomorrow, they have no intention on firing you. But because our mind says worst case scenario, you are this, you are that. And I've learned, Dr. Maidenberg, we become our mistakes.
That's called a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hit our toe on the bed, because you were clumsy. You hit your toe on the bed. Come on.
You know how you were just talking about the bad day? So this is the mindset that you were just talking about. This is a horrible day, or this is a bad day. This is a bad moment in a wonderful day.
Absolutely.
Do you hear the difference?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Right? Like even just saying that, like if you say this is a bad day, guess what's going to happen for the rest of the day?
You're going to attract that. You're going to draw that. It's going to
Well,
happen.
not only that, you're going to be able, every single thing that happens, you're going to be like, you see, I told you it's a bad day. See, I told you it's a bad day. Not like, oh, that shit happens, right? Like, whatever. Yeah. But how many times a day do we have things that happen where, like, you can almost laugh about it, right? Like, oh gosh, is something else going to happen today? Right. And then I could say, okay, wow, like I am so happy that this one great thing happened to me, right? Because it's been one like trying day today. Gosh.
Yeah, I tell people this: celebrate every finish line you cross, regardless of what your day was like. If you didn't do anything but make your bed up this morning, man, I made that bed up this morning. I didn't drink coffee like I wanted to. The day didn't go well, but man, did I make that bed this morning. Find something to lean into because you already have enough things leaning against us. We have plenty of things leaning against us. Always find something, guys, that you can lean into and lay your hat on, so to speak. You can put your hand on, because regardless of what your day has been like, there is something you can lean into on.
Yes. And why is the assumption that life should be so easy, by the way?
That's my thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never got any guarantee that life is going to be flowers and roses and rainbows.
Well, and by the way, think about this. Any single thing that we want badly enough, okay, anything, we have to put effort into. There's nothing that we don't have to work hard for. I can't think of anything, honestly, right? Like something that, whether it's an education, whether it's like, parenting, whatever it is that you're doing, work, exercising, I can't think of anything that you don't work, right? You have to go through a process in order to, to establish an achievement. You just have to. That's just life.
Absolutely. I tell people, if life was as easy as we want it to be, then it'd be great. But it's not. It's gonna cost you something. There is absolutely no way we can go through this life and not cost you something. I don't care whatever it is. And relationships, jobs, it's going to cost you something, and you're going to have to put some hand into it. My grandmother was loved doing a garden, and in a garden, she had to get her hands dirty. And she told me, if you're going to grow something, you're going to have to get your hands dirty.
I love that. And there's trade-offs. Right? The other thing, just based on what you're saying, because this is another really important point, people always think when they're making decisions that they have to come out like, like the idea is like, oh, I'm making a decision and I'm choosing between vanilla and chocolate ice cream. And they think that they have to, that every decision's easy. But most decisions that we have to make come with mixed feelings.
Ooh.
Yeah. And if you understand that, it really helps in decision making, right? Like you have to know that there's going to be mixed feelings and it could be accepting of that. So like an example of that, which I see, especially with big decisions, like, whether to get divorced or whether to whatever, right? Whether to go to school or whether to change jobs or whether
correct.
How many people just do that with full like acceptance of that? No, there's always a downside. So it's like, okay, I have both of these things going on, but what do I want to decide that's going to actually work for me while I'm accepting the other side also? So sometimes I'll have people like metaphorically using their hands as like a scale.
Right.
And it really helps to see it visually. Again, I'm not in the, okay, sorry. Technological. Okay, there we go. But, and to actually use your hands, because you could see like, wow, this is really hard for me because I realize that I am worried about, this new job and meeting new people, or like what my role will be, or whatever the case is,
Exactly. It's kind of like this, guys. When you brought up about ice cream, I kind of look at it like this. It's kind of like Neapolitan. You got chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. You don't know which one you're going to get when you scoop. You don't know if you can get more chocolate, more strawberry, or what, but you scoop it anyhow. So in order to get the taste of the ice cream, you're just going to have to scoop it. You're just going to have to live with it. You're just going to adjust to it. You just have to say, you know what? This is what I got out of this scoop in life. You know, sometimes you get more chocolate. Sometimes you get more strawberry. But you won't get anything if you don't scoop anything.
That is right.
If you don't scoop anything, you won't. And that brings me to this. You're talking about decision making. Decisions, thousands of decisions. We make thousands of decisions every day. So let me ask you this question. What are some good habits that we can develop to avoid feeling stuck when it comes to decision making?
So I have a whole bunch of tools and tips that I use. I'll just give one because again, we'll be here all day. But if you know, again, this will be my book. So, you know, hopefully you'll buy it and take advantage of all of them. But one, I use something called the 3 R's, and that's really, really helpful. And, you know, it's really committing to the 3 R's, which is reset, reconnect, and reinvest. Okay, and I'll say that again: reset,
Yes.
reconnect, and reinvest. So if you feel, this could be if, for example, it could be any kind of stuckness. It could be whether you feel stuck in taking action towards something. It could be stuckness because of a feeling that's overwhelming or intense. That's kind of keeping you, I guess, what's a better word? Fearful, anxious, fearful, because that happens all the time. So part of the reset, and a lot of this is also mindfulness, right? Part of resetting is actually recognizing that you need to reset. Okay.
Absolutely.
So sometimes we really want to use our senses, because when we use our senses, it evokes, again, we want to evoke all of those neurotransmitters that are going to help us actually to reinforce positive behaviors and habits. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So sometimes, again, saying the word reset, and you could say it like 3 times: reset, reset, reset. Again, you could say it out loud, because that is both an auditory, because you're listening to yourself saying it, right? So the more senses that you could use, again, the more it will integrate. Okay, because it's also a physiological thing. It's a psychological and a physiological, both at the same time. So that's where the shift comes in. Now, here's an example. Our PCs. Let's say you're on your computer and it freezes.
Correct.
It freezes. What do? You reboot, right? You reboot.
Absolutely.
Now, what we tend to do, and you'll probably laugh at this, is we'll turn on the key. We'll keep on pressing on the keys, expecting that the program is going to load quicker because we're pressing on the keys because we want to like get on the computer. Guess what happens? You know what your computer does? It's like, listen, you could press the key as many times as you want to, but I'm loading on my time when I feel like it. Right?
Exactly.
You're gonna wait. Well, guess what? That's what our mind and body does too. We can't force ourselves to reset until we're ready to. Okay. And we need to give ourselves the respect and time that our mind and body needs to reset. And that's
Absolutely.
just the way.
Absolutely.
So in terms of the resetting, like I said, one of the things that we do is typically when we're in that space, we're very revved up. Okay. We could have like these anxious thoughts. Our bodies could be revved up. We could be very impulsive, like punching somebody out, whatever it is, with rage and anger. That could also be that impulsive feeling. So a way to, again, recalibrate is, you could close your eyes, but think of something that has a slower pace. So for me, when I do it, I use a second hand on a clock, which goes really slowly, right? Yeah. So when you're closing your eyes, and you don't have to close your eyes, I'm just saying, it just helps, to kind of focus better. But if you're focusing on something, pacing and taking pauses, your whole body grounds itself. Okay, you could do it with your breathing, calibrating your breathing. There's all different kinds of things you could use. One of my clients the other day said, oh, I like the idea of an inchworm, because it's like kind of the up and down, and it's very slow moving. And there's something soothing about the rhythm, like kind of beach waves, right?
Right.
Yeah, anything that kind of like evokes that response, So reconnect. We really want to reconnect with our body and our minds. And a way to do that is to notice our thoughts, which could be very judgmental at the time. It could be filled with negativity and expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
And to call yourself on that. I like to use, and to think about, again, what value is rubbing up against that for you. So if,
Exactly.
let's say you're activated, let's say you had an argument with a family member, because that happens, doesn't it?
Oh,
And you could, and
maybe.
sometimes, right? You could say to yourself, what is it rubbing up against? It could be like family values, right? It could be, for example, um, justice, right? That comes up a lot for me because I really do a lot of advocacy and I get really upset when I feel like people are mistreated. That really gets me rageful. Whatever it is for you that it's rubbing up against, to take kind of the moment, because there's pain and values and pain. Okay.
Correct.
So if we feel pained, we know it's rubbing up against a value. And if a value is getting rubbed up against, we're gonna feel pain.
Wow. I
Yeah.
like that.
That is magical. That is absolutely magical.
I love that.
When you're able to tap into that, it's a magical. So that's how you reconnect to your values and recognize if a value is being rubbed up against, or if you're having a reaction because of the value being rubbed up against, because you're naturally good. That's naturally going to happen. And then also to, again, commit again in that moment to understanding yourself better. What is going on for me in this moment? Okay. And the reinvest is about the doing. It's all in the doing. Like I said, what effort do you want to put into yourself in the moment to get you to connect to what's meaningful to you? And you want to remind yourself that progress and change take time and it's a process and that you're worth investing in.
Ooh.
Yes. And whether you feel like it or not, that is another catch. Like, I can't even say that enough. Whether you feel like it or not, it's not about your feelings. Thoughts and feelings are overrated.
Very much so.
Yes. And that you deserve to be treated as the most important person that you know.
I like that.
The most important person. The one person that you're going to be with, right? For the greatest period of time for the rest of your life is you.
It's you.
And you need to take that person seriously.
Wow.
And value that person. Yes.
Guys, did you hear that? The one person we will never escape, the one person that we need to value the most, the one person that we need to make sure we have better conversations with is ourselves. So let me ask you this. All right, so let me ask you this question. And I'm just read this. So what is a healthy way to engage, since we just brought this up, what's a healthy way to engage with painful experiences and emotions when we encounter them so we can build a better relationship, first with ourselves and then with those around us, to get moving again?
Yes. So that is a magical question. And it's all of my life's work. I don't even know how to answer that. But, I did a TED Talk in November that's called—
I know you did. I know.
Called Circumventing Emotional Avoidance. Okay. And, the only reason I'm mentioning it, not to mention it, but I'm really mentioning it because I talk about how our brain, works against us in terms of, being with and accepting our negative emotions, how hard and difficult that is, and how we need to be accepting of that and compassionate towards ourselves because of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So just to answer your question, what my whole TED Talk is about is that we need to do literally it's exposure therapy, exposure work to our negative emotions. Yeah. And the way that I do it, and the way that I described it in my TED Talk, was to do it through metaphors. I love using metaphors. They're so helpful. So, like, for example, one of the metaphors I used today in my practice, so I'm just, just kind of came to mind, is I talked about how we're constantly feeling like we have a lack of groundedness. We're always feeling like we're wobbly ground. It makes us feel like very, very anxious sometimes. And I use the example of being on a subway. You know how sometimes the subway is really crowded and where you can't even get a spot to like hold on to the, the rail, right? So anybody who's been on a subway, when you don't have anything to hold on to, you're like kind of, or even turbulation on a plane, whatever it is, your body jerks just because of the movement and there's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta go with it. But guess what happens if you fight up against it? You
What?
could restrict your body and you could actually hurt yourself. So you know what an example of that is? If you're driving your car, okay, and your car is skidding. It's raining outside. Today was a really bad thunderstorm, and your car's skidding. What do? Do you know this?
Yeah, you don't slam on brakes. That's what you don't want to do.
Right. Exactly. You go with the skid.
Go with this. Oh, I love that. God, did you hear that?
You go with the skid. If you put your foot on the brake, yeah, you're going to spin out of control. So the power in that situation is going along the skid, because eventually the car stops, it slows down, it calms, and you're safe. That is exactly how we're wired. If we are more accepting and loving and compassionate towards ourselves, that's when we find peace. That's again, if we struggle and what we resist persists.
Oh wow, I gotta put that in chat. You gotta say that again. What we resist.
What we resist persists. Yes. So the more compassion and the more acceptance, the more we go with it, the more we're going to find peace. And
Wow.
I can't say that enough. I really can't. But that's not how we're taught. That's the problem, right? Like, we're taught, if we don't like something, fix it, change it.
Everything doesn't need fixing. And here's what comes to my mind.
We don't need fixing.
I started to go somewhere. Here's what comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't need fixing. We doesn't need fixing. Turn into the skid. You know what I think about? I think about a tree that grows bent and curved. And you say, well, why is a tree bent and curved? Because it's leaning toward the sunlight. It's leaning toward the sunlight. And I noticed that when a tree naturally grows bent and curved, the tree actually compensates for the bend and for the curve, and it strengthens it in the bend. It's actually stronger where it's bent.
That's right.
It's actually strongest there. So our lives may seem a little bent, out of shape. Yeah. And there are situations that can come to bend us. But if we look back, we're actually stronger because of that bend.
Yes. And you know what another example of that is, which I love? You know that when you have surgery and you have scar tissue, do you know that it's stronger than regular skin?
Whoa.
It is. It's stronger than regular skin. And just like, right, so you've built up this resilience and you've empowered yourself. The other thing with the tree, just to piggyback what you said, the other reason why it also curves is when there's torrential rain or there's like wind or whatever the case is, guess what happens? If it didn't have the bend, it would just snap off.
It would snap.
So guess what it does? It's able to ebb and flow with whatever comes its way. If there's wind, if there's snow, right?
It just goes right with it. And the roots stay intact. The bend is still there. It's still just and if it's a fruit bearing tree, it'll still bear fruits.
That's right.
Guys, listen, this is Dr. Michelle Maidenberg, guys. And tonight we were talking about finding ways to get unstuck. And I know she said some things that helped you all. Guys, listen, she has this fantastic book that's coming up right here. There it is right there. Yeah, I told you. I got you.
I love the cover.
I like this too. And don't forget, she says she likes to write. She has another book. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. See that?
Very different topic, but yes.
And free your child from overeating. Guys, if you want to get in contact with Dr. Maidenberg, here is her website right here. I got it right there. You can check it out. I've already been there. I've been reading it well before I even contacted you, Dr. Maidenberg.
Thank you.
Guys, Dr. Michelle Maidenberg, I thank you so much for joining us and helping us all.
And thank you for what you're doing. Like, Travis, like, respect, seriously. Like, you are so inspiring. Like, I could talk to you for hours. Like, I don't even want to get off, to be honest with you. Like, I want to stay on here.
I hear that so much. Everyone says the same thing. But
we are.
I love what you gave. You know, a lot of times will in my self talk with myself, I think things. I think, man, that's just really weird. That's just
Mm,
out of there, Travis. And then when I hear guests come on and they confirm my thoughts, I know no one's heard my thoughts but me
yeah.
unless I say them. And a lot of the things you were saying really helped us. It really helped me, and it confirms things that I knew. I think I was reading an article in Psychology Today. It blew my mind. I still have it on my phone where it tells us that, hey, by nature, you're gonna think negative. So you're gonna have to put some real action and
Mhm,
some work into thinking positive. And tonight, guys, we talked about self values, those values that we need to help us make better decisions
mhm,
about ourselves. She says, "Look, you deserve to treat yourself better." You know, I heard someone say this. You know, if no one wants to celebrate your birthday, celebrate your own birthday. Buy your own cake, blow your own horn, put a hat on your own head,
mhm.
and we can get away from that pursuit of happiness because it's a pursuit, guys. Think about it. Happiness will always be a pursuit.
Yeah, so the words that I use, and this may be helpful, contentment and satisfaction. Very those have to do with things you're doing. It's not a feeling state. That's the difference.
Absolutely.
It's about what you're doing, not how you feel.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah,
think about it. We can feel one way 5 minutes later, we get the
totally.
email or a text, and bam, that's gone.
It
And
it
you were just so
it
happy.
happens all the time. It happens
Ab-
all the time.
Absolutely. That contentment has to do with knowing who we are.
That's right.
I'm happy with who I am.
That's
I'm
right.
happy with that. You know, I have an old pair of shoes. I'm happy with that. And it doesn't mean you settle. So get that out your head. It
That's
just means I'm happy with who I am. I've settled in with who I am. Guys, Dr. Michelle
right.
Maidenberg
Thank
joined us here on TMG. Before I get out of here, guys, you know I got to do it this way. Otherwise, somebody's going to ask me. So let me go ahead and do it the way I got to do it, Dr. Maidenberg. If
yes.
I don't, they're going to question me. There we go. I got to play that music. And there we go. Guys, listen, as always, it's been a real blast. Don't forget to visit our Facebook page. That's Tell Me Something Good with the capital T. And guys, as always, you can join us and stream in on your favorite podcast platform like Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and so many more. Guys, as we get out of here and we tell Dr. Michelle Maidenberg goodbye until next time, guys, as always, if you're going to tell me something good. I'm out of here. Peace. I got to go. Don't hold me hostage.